Hello, thank you for joining this month's Connect with Control M session. My name is Trinidad Gaitan and I'll be your facilitator for this webinar. Today we will demonstrate Managed File Transfer Enterprise 921.100, also known as MFTE. We have three presenters today from the Control M support team, Adrian Henriquez Coro, Seth Lang, and Chris Green. We recommend going to full screen mode during this presentation by pressing the full screen button. For any questions you may have during the presentation, please post them to the Q&A pod. We will be addressing your questions at the end of the session. Today we'll demonstrate the topics that you see here in the agenda, and then afterwards we'll conclude with the Q&A session. For our first demonstration, Adrian will discuss MFTE compatibility and new features offered in 921.100. Adrian, please go ahead.
Thank you, Trini, for the introduction. Today, we will be looking into what's new in MFT Enterprise version 9.21 Fixpack 1. As you can see in this list, MFTE 21 Fixpack 1 comes with a variety of new features, but today we will focus on user lockout, user default folder, and IP filtering. We will also explain the MFTE 21 Fixpack 1 compatibility with the rest of Control M components. Let's start with the MFTE 921 Fixpack 1 compatibility with other Control M components. The Control M Automation API version has to be 21 Fixpack 1 also for it to be compatible. The minimum version of Enterprise Manager compatible with MFTE 21 Fixpack 1 is 920 Fixpack 2. For the Control M server is 920 Fixpack 2 patch 7. And for the agents, the minimum version required to be compatible is version 20. In case you are upgrading your MFTE to 21 Fixpack 1, the minimum versions that you can upgrade from are MFTE version 18 and Gateway version 18 also. It is important to mention that an Enterprise Manager on version 21 Fixpack 1 is only compatible with MFTE of version 21 or later. If your Enterprise Manager is already in version 21 Fixpack 1, you must upgrade your MFTE to version 21 or later for it to be compatible and to use the new MFTE configurations. Now, let's talk about user lockout. This new feature allows you to lock the external user's accounts defined on your MFTE environment. These users can be locked out for one of the following reasons: login failures, number of consecutive attempts in a determined time, inactivity, the user didn't log in for a number of days, password expiration, user hasn't changed its password in a number of days, and it can be logged out manually by the administrator. An email notification is sent to the administrator in case a user is automatically locked by the system. On the MFTE web interface, you can see the users that are logged out in the account status column and in the user properties. You can also see the log reason, and you can lock or unlock the user with the lock and unlock button that you can see in the picture. We have also new automation API requests, which will allow you to perform the following calls: get list of logged users, lock a user, unlock a user, and unlock all logged users. Now, I'm going to show you some of the user lockout details that we just talked about. As we said before, here in the MFTE site web interface, you can see in the users section all the users that you have defined, their account status, If they are logged out, you can see the reason of why they are logged out. And here in the top right corner, you can log or unlock users with this button. I'm going to log user 1. And now I'm going to show you the message that the user 1 will see if it tries to access the file exchange portal while it's logged. This message will pop up saying that your user account is logged and that you should contact your administrator. Now I want to show you two of the new Automation API requests that we mentioned before. This is the first Automation API request. It is the Automation API request to get the list of logged users. As you can see, it is CTM config MFTE site external users logged action get, and the parameter of the MFTE site name in my case is BMC underscore hub underscore M1. Here is the result. As you can see, I have 3 users logged right now. Now I want to unlock user 1. In this case, the Automation API request is CTM config MFTE site external user unlock the MFTE site name and the username. Now we received the result. User 1 is unlocked. Let's confirm it by executing the list request again. Now we can confirm that user 1 is no longer in the log user list. Now let's talk about the default home folder. Another new feature in MFTE 21 Fixpack 1 is that now you can define one of the B2B folder as a user's default home folder. You can also create a new virtual folder as a default folder, and the user is automatically authorized to his default folder. By default, the default folder for each user is B2B home. When the user logs into the hub, his root path will show the content of this folder. In case the user is authorized to additional folders, he can switch to them using the B2B home prefix like shown in the sample below. Now, let's talk about IP filtering. This new feature enables you to allow or deny specific IPs from transferring files to and from your organization, which provides you control to prevent attacks from unauthorized sources. The gateway gets the list of IPs to allow or deny from a static list defined in local files, IP allowed list, and IP denied list, which are CSV format files. IP filtering applies only to IPv4 and it accepts lists of IPs or IP ranges. Here is an example of a valid entry. You can also enable automatic block of IPs due to repeated failed logins. You can configure to block an IP after a number of attempts in a determined minutes and the IP is blocked for a number of hours. I want to mention that we also added 2 new operations to the audit report. You can now generate a report of rejected connections from an IP address and another report of when an IP is added to the blocked list. In addition to this, we also have 2 new API requests to list the currently blocked IPs and another to remove an IP from the blocked IPs list. Now, I want to show you a quick example of IP filtering. I'm going to access one of my hubs from this terminal via SFTP protocol with my user 1. I had connected successfully. Now, I'm going to add the IP of the terminal that I just used to access my hub to the list of blocked IPs. For that, we had to edit the IP denied list file. I'm going to add the IP in the following format, and I'm going to save the file. Now I'm going to try to access the hub again from the same terminal as before. And now we get this error message. At the same time, if I try to access the same hub with the same user one from another terminal which doesn't have its IP in the blocked list, I will be able to access the hub. Finally, I will remove the IP of the first terminal from the blocked IP list, and I will try to access the hub again. First, we had to edit the blocked list file again. I just removed the IP from the blocked IP list, and now I'm going to try to access the hub again from the same terminal that was blocked just before. As you can see, I am available to connect again. This concludes this presentation.
Thank you, Adrian, for discussing MFTE compatibility and demonstrating new features. In our next demo, Seth will show how to set up a second site in MFTE. Seth, please go ahead.
Thank you, Trini, for the introduction. Today, I will be looking at adding additional MFT enterprise sites in a control environment. As of Managed File Transfer 921 and above, we now have the ability to have multiple MFT enterprise B2B sites. One site can be created for each control server in the environment, up to a maximum of 5 B2B sites. The link in the slide is to the steps for adding additional MFT enterprise sites from the Control and Managed File Transfer documentation. The links in the slides are also in the links section of the video. In today's scenario, we have an MFT enterprise B2B site that is used by a company's clients to upload motorsports designs. The company is expanding into a water sports division and would like a managed file transfer B2B site that is separate from their first. The second site will manage a separate user access list, as the new division will be maintained as a separate entity from the first. Additional MFT enterprise sites behave as separate entities within the organization, as each site has its own users, folders, groups, rules, settings, and gateways. Let's take a look at the Control Configuration Manager for this environment. There must be one active Control server associated with each MFT enterprise B2B site. As our first B2B site is already associated with the Control server on the machine with the host name MFT Site 1, we will need to add a second Control server to the environment. We will select New, Control Server, and enter the host name of a machine where we've installed the second Control server. In this case, MFT Site 2. For the purposes of this demonstration, we're using the same machine where our second Control server is installed for the second B2B site's primary hub. But this can be any machine that has a Control agent installed. Depending on the available resources in the environment, it may be advisable to use a separate Control agent instead of the local Control server's agent in order to set up a more distributed environment. Again, for the purposes of this demonstration, we're using the same agent that is installed on the local MFT2 site's Control server. We will select Deployment from the Manage tab and deploy MFT onto the new agent. Then we'll go ahead and send and install MFT to the Control agent. We'll select our agent. Here it is sending MFT to the Control server. From there, it will be automatically distributed and installed on the Control agent. The deployment can take at least a few minutes, depending on your network, as it copies binaries from the EM to the Control server and then to the Control agent. We see that the MFT deployment has completed successfully to the agent that we will configure as the primary hub for the new B2B site. So we will now go to the machine where we will install the primary B2B gateway for the new B2B site. We've created a user on the machine where we're going to install the MFT Enterprise B2B gateway, and we have downloaded the B2B gateway installer onto a temporary folder. Extract the installation files into the folder. Here we're calling the B2B gateway setup.sh file from the user's home directory. After accepting the license agreement, we will need to choose the password for the hub to authenticate with the gateway. After re-entering the password, we'll use the default options. Keep in mind the gateway port, as this will be needed later when adding the gateway to the site. Now the gateway has been installed and has already been automatically started. Again, we note the listening port, in this case 9443. Now that the new hub and gateway have been installed, we can add the new site from the MFT Enterprise configuration page, which can be accessed by selecting the MFT B2B button under the Manage tab of the Control-M Configuration Manager. This will open the configuration page in a web browser. If we select the name of our primary site near the top left of the screen, we will see the option Add New Site. Then we'll select the name of the Control-M server and the agent where the new site's primary hub is installed. Enter a name for the new site, the gateway's password that we just selected while installing the B2B gateway, the gateway domain name, the company name, and an email address. After selecting the Add button, we'll see the option to add additional hubs. For the purposes of this demonstration, we will not enter additional hubs and gateways, but if you later convert the site to a high availability MFT enterprise site, you will need to add 2 additional hubs and an additional gateway. We see that the hub is now added. Select the Add Gateway button and enter the gateway's hostname and port. Our new site does not have any users defined, as each new site has its own users, folders, groups, rules, and settings. We will add a new user so that we can verify our site's customization. Going back to our original MFT B2B site, we see that it was already customized with a login page background, company logo, and browser tab icon. You'll notice that when we go to the site settings of our first B2B site and change between dark theme and light theme for the web interface top bar theme, that the company logo changes in color so that it can still be seen to contrast the color of the top bar. This is accomplished by using a different file for the logo in order to contrast with the background. If you're customizing the site with your own logo, you may need to test if this is necessary based on if your logo color blends in or contrasts with the color of the bar. We will do this in the new B2B site that we just created. The steps that we will use to customize our new file exchange website can be seen in the MFT configuration documentation at docs.bmc.com. A link is in the description of this video to this section of the Control-M Administration Guide. A list of the files that we will replace can be found there. These files are located in the MFT gateway machine. On the new gateway machine, as the gateway user, we will go to the MFT Proxy Data Resources directory. We will create backups of the original logo, background, and image files. We will then upload our company logo, background, and icon files. We copy the logos into the appropriate files, a light logo for a dark background, and a dark logo to contrast with the light background. These need to have the original file names as the icon, background, and logo files that we backed up. Let's go ahead and log into our new B2B site. Here we can see in the login page that we have the new background that we just uploaded to replace the old one. We also see that we have a new browser tab icon instead of the default B2B icon that comes with the standard installation. And we see the new icon in the dark bar. We will change the settings to a light bar so that we can see the change in the logo to see that it matches our site. To do this, we will need to log back into the MFT configuration site on the hub machine and select Site Settings under the gear icon. Then toggle between light and dark theme from the web interface top bar theme dropdown. We can then refresh the browser page to see the new logo that is displayed when selecting the light theme. We see the logo now in a different color. If we had a white logo, it would not be visible here due to the white background. If we do not see the change take effect, we will need to restart our B2B gateway. We will issue the shut mftproxy.sh command from the mftproxy exe directory. And to start the gateway back up, we will run the start mftproxy.sh command that's also found in the mftproxy exe directory. In some cases, we may notice that the background in the login page did not change. This can happen if the background is saved in the browser's cache. As an example, we're using the Chrome browser. We can clear the cached image by selecting the browser settings and then under privacy and security, clear browsing data. From this point, if we want to change settings for the sites, we need to select the current site from the top left side of the B2B configuration page and select the site that we will work with from the drop-down menu. This concludes this part of the presentation.
Thank you, Seth, for showing how to set up a second site and MFTE and how to customize it. For our final demo, Chris will demonstrate how to change the MFTE gateway proxy password and how to enable debug. Chris, go ahead.
Thanks for the introduction. Today we will be showing you how to change the password for the Control-M MFT Enterprise Gateway, as well as how to enable debug for Control-M MFT Enterprise. This procedure describes how to change the Control-M MFT Enterprise Gateway password. I've logged into the machine where my MFT Enterprise Gateway is installed, and you'll see the home directory listing here. From here, we will cd into the MFTE proxy directory. And from this directory, we will cd into data. Here are the files located in the data directory. What we will be modifying is the proxyconfig.properties file. First, we will back up this file by making a copy of it and call it proxyconfig.properties.back. Now that we have made a backup, we can edit the original file. Now that we have the file opened, the line with the gateway.password is the line we will need to modify. After the equal sign, we will remove all characters and write plain in all caps, followed by a colon and the password you wish to use. In this example, I will use CWCM test. However, in your environment, you will use the password of your choosing and place it after plain, colon. Now we can write and save the file. In order to have the password change take effect, we will need to restart the MFT Enterprise Gateway. The scripts in order to do so are located in the exe directory, so we will need a cd back into the MFT proxy directory. From here, we will cd into exe. Once in the exe directory, we will run the shut mft proxy.sh script to stop the MFT Enterprise Gateway. Now that it is stopped, we can start it with the start mft proxy.sh script. And now you can see that it has started. If we go back to the data directory, we can grab gateway.password out of the proxy config.properties file, and you will see that it is now encrypted. Here I have logged into the MFTE Enterprise Configuration page, where we see that the gateway is not connected to the hub due to having the wrong gateway authentication password. To correct this, we will sync the new gateway password that we configured in the proxy config.properties file. We will click on the gear icon in the top right corner, then select Site Settings. Select the authentication option, and in the gateway authentication password, we will enter our new password. In this demo, we used CWCM tests, but you will use the password you configure in the proxy config.properties file. And now we will save this. Here, you will see that the gateway password is set and is showing as connected to the hub. If the password was not synced, it would still show a red X instead of a green check mark with the message wrong gateway authentication password. Next, we will show you how to enable debug for Control-M MFTE Enterprise. From the MFTE Enterprise configuration page that we are in right now, you can click on the gear icon in the top right corner and then select Hub Settings. You will see this log level option and change it from error to debug, and then save the change to enable debug for the MFTE Enterprise Hub. For the MFTE Enterprise Gateway, we will click on the gear icon again and select Gateway Settings. Again, you will change the log level from error to debug, and then save the change to enable debug on the MFTE Enterprise Gateway. To disable debug, you go through the same steps, but change the log level from debug to error. Enabling debug from the MFTE Enterprise configuration page will enable debug on all hubs and gateways if you have multiple of them. Here are the log file locations for MFTE Enterprise. The gateway logs will be located in the MFTE proxy logs, and on the agent, it will be located in the proclog directory, whether on Windows or Unix. These are the three logs you will see on the MFTE Enterprise Gateway: MFTE Proxy Boot Log, MFTE Proxy Log, MFTE Proxy Start Stop Log. Here are the four logs you will see for MFTE Enterprise on the agent: CTM Hub Boot Log, CTM Hub Client Log, CTM Hub Log, and then for the client, the MFTE Client Year, Month, Date Log. This concludes the demonstration of changing the gateway password for MFTE Enterprise, as well as the steps to enable and disable debug on the gateway and hub. And now we will go back to Trini.
Thank you, Chris, for showing how to change the MFTE gateway proxy password and how to enable debug. All right, everyone, that concludes our session for today. On behalf of Adrian, Seth, Chris, and the entire Connect with Control-M team, thank you for spending some time with us today. We look forward to you taking advantage of these features in your environment. Stick around for the Q&A session where we will take your questions. But first, you can learn more about the BMC education course, Control-M Fundamentals Administering, by clicking the link in the link section below, or you can visit the bit.ly link you see on the screen. Your feedback shapes our future webinars. We would appreciate if you will take a moment and answer a few questions for us in the survey that you will receive later today. You can find Control-M on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Links for each can be found in the links section below. You can watch previous webinars on the Control-M channel on YouTube. Today's webinar will be posted there within a couple of days. Let's kick off the Q&A. As a reminder, you can enter your questions on the Ask a Question section at any time.